That's right, you are listening to 88.3 Southern FM on this fine Wednesday morning here in our Bayside studios in Melbourne. As I said to you before the 8 o'clock news, we'd be having a chat with Dane Robertson, who's the lead vocalist from Melbourne-based band Black Fox, after the news. You've just listened to Monarch, which is the second track of their new 7-inch single vinyl, which is out, which is Dane Lieu / Monarch. And of course, we're going to be having a little bit of a chat with Dane, and it's nice that he's gotten up nice and early on a Wednesday morning to have had a chat with us today. And then we'll play that title track after we have a bit of a chat with him. So, Dane, are you there?
I sure am. How you doing?
Good, mate. How you doing this morning?
Oh, not too bad at all. Not too bad.
Fantastic. Look, I wanted to have a quick chat with you and obviously let our listeners know a little bit more about Black Fox. I guess I should start out with, you've got a new single that was launched at the end of March, which is entitled Dane Lieu, and the second track is Monarch. And you put it out on 7-inch vinyl, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, the vinyl, everyone kind of asks, how come you went with vinyl? And, the main reason was just that we've always wanted to put out some of our own music on vinyl. And so that was really the main reason for doing it. But, there were a lot of other reasons that kind of made sense. I think, these days most people tend to download their music, and the people that do actually tend to go out and buy music off indie bands and buy the physical copies, they're usually the real enthusiasts, and they're usually collectors who are into vinyl. And so, vinyl sales worldwide just keep going up year after year while CD sales continue to decline every year. So, we thought we'd give the vinyl thing a bit of a go. And, it's probably a slightly better sounding copy as well. Like, it doesn't cop all the compression that they do in mastering. So it's got a lot more dynamics in it, and it sounds pretty good when you get it on a hi-fi system, I think. So we're pretty happy with it.
It's an awesome thing, I've got to say, because I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember vinyl, and I've still got a nice little collection. And I have to say, when I open up my little post pack that Bonnie had sent me with the vinyl in it, I don't know whether you could possibly understand the joy that I had in pulling out a vinyl and then pulling it out of the case, something brand new. And there's something about playing music on vinyl. I don't care what anybody says. I know vinyl today is a little bit different to, I guess, the way it was. But there's a depth and everything that you get out of vinyl that you just don't get off something digital. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think when, I'd have given it anything to being a band in the period of time when vinyl was all there was, because I think then, I can remember, before downloads and everything, and when it was, largely cassette tapes and vinyl. When I was buying, I was largely buying cassettes because I couldn't afford a vinyl system. I'd only had a cassette Walkman, but I used to save up all my money, and then you'd go down to the record store, and you could only afford to buy one tape, and so you'd really spend your time there going through them all, and you'd buy one, and then you'd listen to that non-stop for the next however many months until you could afford to buy another one. And so it had real value because you'd saved up, you'd bought this. You really looked after it. Every time you played it, you had to get it out and put it on. And because you couldn't skip through tracks like you can on a CD or on iTunes, you would tend to listen to an entire record over and over. And so you get to appreciate a lot of the tracks that...
That's maybe, exactly right.
I think now it's a far more like a single-orientated environment. People will tend to buy the song that they hear on radio, and that's it. And they'll download it, and that's all they listen to from that band. And so that was the other thing. Like, we've got the full album coming out, and we're doing that on vinyl too for that very reason, that we hope people will get the vinyl and listen to the whole album. Which,
it does make sense, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because I know, like, for myself and doing radio and just other things, I mean, it depends. I will go out and buy vinyl, and I'm a lot more selective now, because vinyl itself, if you're buying an LP these days, is extremely expensive. But at the same time, there's a quality and a reminiscence, I think, about buying something that that you're going to keep and you're going to hang on to. And you're right, like, quite often you go out and you buy something, for a particular song and don't play the rest of it. Whereas you're right, if you're getting a vinyl record, it's and you've got a decent system, it's one of those things where you're not going to be scratching around with the needle trying to find the particular track that you do want to listen to. You're going to listen through to the whole thing, and it gives people the opportunity to actually really embrace your music more, I think.
Absolutely. I think so many times, like in the past when I was a kid, I used to buy records for one song that I'd heard on radio, and you'd buy the record for that, and you'd just skip to that track, or you'd fast forward to it, and you'd play that over and over. But then after about 5 listens, you got that out of your system, and that's when you start to listen to the whole record. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, it's the other songs on there that end up being your favourites, not the single that they've been pumping on radio. And so, that's why we've always loved doing a full-length album as well, because it's got a bit more range and depth to it. And so we hope people will buy it and listen to the whole thing and make up their own minds about what their favourite tracks are on there.
There seems to be there's a bit of a resurgence, as you were sort of saying, in people bringing out a limited edition, in vinyl with stuff that they're new albums and stuff like that. And I know like Eagle and the Worm did the same thing. So the last sort of recent piece of vinyl that I bought was Eagle and the Worm's one, which I got at Basement Discs in the city after seeing them live in there. And there is this to actually have that in a brown paper bag and take it home and put it on the stereo and lie on the floor, on the carpet in the lounge room with the headset on. It was just and that reminds me of growing up and Dad's appreciation of music, and that's what he used to do on a Saturday night. Lie on the lounge room floor and go through his record collection and.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. Now, with for those that may not be not that we want to focus in on it, but for those that may not be interested, Black Fox sort of started somewhere else and has evolved from something else, hasn't it?
Yeah. So we 3 of the guys in the band, myself, Daniel, and Lee, we all played in another band called The Smoke. Yep. And we played with a couple other guys called Ryan and Luke, and we played together for years, and we've kind of all been friends for a very long time, that group of 5 people. And, playing, I don't know, if you haven't been in a band, it's hard to appreciate, but if you've ever sort of like worked on a group assignment at uni or something, and you found that frustrating or it's hard to work with people, you can amplify that by about 100 when you're working in a band. It's a really unique environment, because instead of just bringing in some essay that you've been working on, you're bringing in your poetry or your music, stuff that is really personal to you, and then it's open to criticism by the 4 other people in the band. That's and so you've got to find guys that you can really work with well, and that's what we kind of had with that group of guys. And then Luke moved to Sydney, and we started work on Black Fox, and we just immediately sort of had a bit of a change in musical, it sounds cliche, but musical direction. Like we'd been playing kind of rock and roll, pretty just raw rock and roll stuff for a while, and we wanted to do stuff that was a lot more textured and more melodic and had harmonies and synths in there and just subtle, things going on. So we started work immediately on Black Fox, and we played as a 4-piece for about a year. Mm-hmm. And then Ryan met a nice girl that he's now marrying, and so he's sort of got a house now, and
silly man,
has sort of he can't afford to spend all his money on frivolous activities anymore. So that's when sort of Mitch and Andre came on board, and we were really lucky. Like I was a little bit worried, honestly, when we got 2 other guys in, just because we were such a tight knit group and such a unique group of friends. It was going to be hard for them to come into that, but also the main thing I wanted was, 2 people that were going to fit in with that dynamic.
Yeah, and that's got to be hard too, hasn't it?
Yeah, their playing abilities aside, they had to fit in with us. And we were really lucky in that we found 2 guys who just fitted in immediately, and it's like we've known them for years. So, we've been playing with those guys for coming up to about a year now, and it's great. It's really, really good. So it's worked out, fantastically.
And I know, I've just come off being on the road for 5 days with Emmy Bryce and Kate Vigo on a 5-day sort of stretch of their East Coast tour. And I know, say, with Kate's band in particular, in what you're saying, she would have had, generally her regular bassist, and she's taken on another bass guitarist in the meantime, and he's a drummer. He's a drummer, not a bass guitarist, but as a bass guitarist, he just fits in so well with, you'd never know that, and actually out of 10 of us travelling for the last 5 days, and then 4 days a week previous, Emmy and a couple of the other girls were just saying that they actually didn't realise that Tom wasn't actually just originally part of the band. He just fits into Kate's band so well, and it's hard to obviously find somebody that fits into the mould like that. With
absolutely.
I know, like, you've had a huge amount of press over March, leading into April, and obviously up to the launch, which was at the Workers' Club, wasn't it, here in Melbourne?
Yeah, that's the one.
And you've got, with the new album that's coming out, is that due for release around about the middle of the year?
Yeah, it'll be the middle of the year. It's completely finished, but we haven't decided on a date yet to put it out. Just because we're just waiting to see how the first single goes, basically, and then we can sort of work out timelines based on that. But yeah, it'll definitely be out this year, and the middle of the year, so around June, July sometime.
And from one of the things I was reading, I have to say, you do these sorts of things, and you read a lot of reviews and stuff. And I was reading one of the reviews on themusic.com.au. And the last paragraph of that said that this guy, or Cassandra, I think it was, that actually wrote this one. She said, after some pre-gig listening, it's clear that Black Fox are a band that are better experienced live as each song is elevated. And she says that just as we're getting into it, and you quite often find this when you go and see a live band for the first time, that you were just getting into it, but damn, like it finished. And she said it was obvious the crowd are keen to hear more. So it sounds like, and she's, awfully excited about the Line of Sight, release for the album. And now that I've listened to your music on sort of, high rotation over the last, sort of 36 hours, I listened to it a fair bit yesterday and then again today.
Yeah.
And I'm loving the sound that you've got. Where was the album written and recorded?
We wrote the album. The album was kind of written largely in Melbourne. There was Daniel wrote one complete song when he was in Japan.
Yep.
And he sort of partially recorded that one as well. And the recording in the past with the Smoke, we'd recorded ourselves and done everything ourselves, and then we'd also gone down the path of working with a producer and in the studio. And I don't know, like working in the studio was kind of it was something I think we had to do because we learn a lot doing that. But it didn't particularly suit us, just because something won't be exactly how you want it, or you'll come up with an idea that you want to try, and it's usually like, well, we're running out of time, guys, so unless you want to pay for another day in the studio, you don't have time to do it.
Exactly. A lot more people seem to be recording outside the studio and then taking stuff in to be sort of mixed and produced. Is it? That seems to be the focus for a lot of bands these days.
Well,
it's a cost factor
how,
too.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a cost element involved, but also, it's just a lot more fun and creative doing it that way. But it did take us until now, and we've been doing this for years, but it did take us until now to get to the point, I think, where we can have the amount of gear and the amount of experience and knowledge to record it to a level that we're satisfied with. I remember, our first album with the Smoke, Blood Orange, I love it, and I still like listening to it, but it's not recorded. There are things I hear on it where I'm like, I wish we could re-record it now because we could do it better.
Yeah.
And that's where going into a studio and everything really helped, because you get an experience of working with people who've done, nothing but record bands for 20 years, and so you learn a lot very quickly.
And so who produced the album for you?
We produced the album.
Oh, okay.
So we completely produced and recorded it this time around, and we recorded it all over the place. So a lot of it was done in kind of like living rooms and bedrooms and everything in Melbourne. We did a lot of recording down at my parents' house when they were away on holidays.
Nice. Got to love mum and dad.
Rehearsal rooms. Yeah. And then we also, one of the guys that is a great friend of ours and someone that we've played with in the past, he was someone that we really wanted to get involved on the album, because he was kind of one of these guys that I used to write songs and then I'd show them to him to get his, he'd be the first person I get an opinion of.
Yeah.
And so he'd heard a lot of the songs and had been, he'd co-written one of them, but he was living in New York now, studying. So I actually decided to go over there and record a lot of parts for the album with him. And that was really great because, we were recording through winter, and it's first of all, it's a nice change. You get over there and it's summer, and it's a completely different environment and everything. But also, you get to work with someone who hasn't heard the songs, 500 times already. And so they're coming in with a completely fresh perspective. They can hear them and listen to them for the first time and then say what they think might help them and that kind of thing. So, and I think that really helps. Like, he did the the backing harmonies on Monarch that you just play, and that kind of took that song to another level. So that was really great experience.
And so, as I was saying, so you've had the single launch at the end of March. That's out now, and it's available on 7-inch vinyl. So they folks that are listening this morning can get that through iTunes, JB, and Waterfront Records. Would that be right?
Yeah. Yep. There's a few other ones around, but they're the main ones. And the vinyl comes with a free digital download card. So if you buy the vinyl, you can download. It allows you to download it in actually any format you want. So you can download a full quality CD copy of it.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Or you can download an MP3, whatever you want. So you'll definitely, you won't miss out on having a copy on your iPod as well.
And are people lucky enough to get the temporary Black Fox tattoos like I'm sporting here this morning?
Yeah, well, they actually, we've got, we went and slipped one of them into every single one of the vinyls. So if you pick up a vinyl, you get a free tattoo.
Excellent. I love that idea. It's awesome. So other than that, we can find you on the web at www.weareblackfox.com. And, of course, for those Triple J listeners as well, and we don't mind giving Triple J a bit of a plug, and, of course, it's a great source of local, live, talented musicians here in this country. They can find you on Triple J Unearth's website as well. Now, you've got a couple of gigs coming up. Did you want to run through the next couple you've got coming up for us?
I don't have the dates.
I'll help you out. How's that?
That sounds good. I think Revolver June 6th, is it?
Yeah, which is important, obviously, for the Melbourne listeners. So you've got World Bar in Sydney on the 26th of May. That's in King's Cross. Of course, the wonderful Revolver upstairs on the 6th of June. Here in Melbourne for all of you Melbourne folk. And then for all those wonderful people in Adelaide, that's where we'll be on the weekend at the Alley on the 16th of June. Now, I was just trying to work out there was something else I was going to ask you, actually. Oh, so when the album comes out, that will be available on vinyl, won't it? I think
that's going to be on a 12-inch record, and we've really, it's kind of one of these things like we've always wanted to do, so we've really gone to town. The album looks amazing. It's this beautiful gatefold 12-inch vinyl. It's on the heavy, great vinyl.
I just wish people could see the cover of this single. I mean, it's sick, man.
Yeah, well, Lee, we do absolutely everything ourselves, and Lee does all of the artwork. So he's the man behind all of that.
I suppose we should introduce it. So the other members of the band, we've got Dane Robertson, who we're talking to, obviously. We've got Lee Mullins on guitar, Mitchell Freeman on drums, Daniel Mullins on guitar, and it's Andrei Seleznev on bass.
Yeah. He's our Russian bass player.
Sweet. There's nothing wrong with it. Actually, Brookie out of Emmy's band, she's a little 5'2", pint-sized, red-headed pocket rocket, and she does this thing with a loop pedal, where she does this whole Russian voicing on the loop pedal, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so we have a sort of a
maybe we should get the two of them together. And they can,
it's really cool. It's just one of the things that she does during soundcheck, every soundcheck we have, which is pretty cool.
Well, this guy, he's always playing, we'll come into rehearsal, and if he gets there first, he'll just be sitting there playing Russian folk music.
Oh, I love
and then he'll stop straight away and you go, oh, come on, give us a few more bars. And we're like, no.
That's awesome. So look, once again, I have to thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know that, again, we go through this with bands that, you gig the night before, you got to get up and do radio promo and stuff like that, and it's awfully appreciated. We thank you very much for that.
Thanks for having me on. I absolutely love doing radio. I enjoy radio so much. I think it's a great medium, so I'm always very happy to jump on board with that.
Well, anytime you want to come in and do an hour drive time on a Wednesday morning, you're more than welcome, mate. And you can play a selection of your own Aussie music that you like. So again, folks, we've been listening to an interview with Dane Robertson from Black Fox, Melbourne-based band doing great guns here at the moment. And of course, the 7-inch vinyl In Lieu is out now with the second track, which you've also already heard, which is Monarch. And we're going to go out with In Lieu. And once again, thanks so much for joining us this morning on 88.3 Southern FM, mate.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
You're more than welcome. And again, as I said, you're listening to 88.3 Southern FM, and we've been chatting with Dane Robertson. And this is In Lieu, which is their latest single release.